Dear Dr. Charryse, my opportunity to take a lot of the questions that you all try to slip in my DMs and do something constructive.
Dear Dr. Charryse, are y'all ready for this?
The goal is for us to have honest, courageous conversations, pretty much with no topic off the table.
Let's go.
Here we go. We are back, season 3, episode 1. And of course, I'm pumped and here with guests this time. I want to ask you a question before we get started. Have you ever taken a step way outside of your comfort zone? Like to the point where you were like, what am I doing? But at the same time, you also knew that the step that you were about to take was exactly what you needed to do. And it was going to be a turning point in your life in many ways. So there was this push and pull. If you resonate with that, then you're absolutely going to resonate with my guest today, Chef Jennie Castleman. Thank you so much for choosing to come on the show.
Oh, of course. Thank you for asking me.
So before we get started, just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. And let me just tell you, she's only going to be able to tell you this much. You're going to want to go and find her, and I'll give you the information on how to do that later. Because let's be honest, none of us can totally wrap up in 60 to 90 seconds everything. But tell us a little bit about what's most important for us to know about who you are and how you spend your days.
Well, most importantly, I've learned there's a major difference between who I am and what I do. And so my name is Jennie Castleman. I am a mama and a wife, and that's my full-time job and my top priority. And for a career, the things I do are I'm a wellness chef. I teach classes online. I do in-person demos. And really my heart is to share the importance of nutrition, not just with adults, but parents and children as well. So I have children. I have 6-year-old twins. And so they're my major inspiration. And so they've always kind of been my why for everything that I do in life.
Yeah, I love it. She's coming out the gate, and I am going to take every opportunity to just pull out those nuggets. It is so important for us to know that there's a difference between who we are and what we do. That is a message, whether it's one-on-one or in the community, that I constantly try to get people to understand, your worth is not parallel to your productivity. And I believe that that's a message that has been ingrained, but it's a very harmful message. Absolutely. If we're not careful. So one of the reasons that I brought you here on the show is to talk about a recent experience that you had. You were just a contestant on season 3 of Next Level Chef. Saying that, even though I enjoy cooking, makes me go, oh, right? Because I was thinking okay, we said comfort zone, but a lot of the steps we make in our comfort zone are in secret. And you chose to do it in front of all the world. But before we get to the actual experience, talk to us about leading up to the experience.
So leading up to me actually flying to another country to film a national TV cooking competition with the biggest culinary champions in the world. Wow. I was cooking dinner for my family at home, and I got a phone call that said, "Hey, can you talk to the director of casting in 5 minutes?" And I was
Could you even believe it? Were you like, what?
So let me back up because I missed the whole casting part of that. I did have someone send me a message on Instagram, and you seemed lovely and interested in casting you for a potential cooking competition. I was like, nah, not for me. I like to teach. I'm not really a huge competitor. I'm probably too nice to do this. Nah. And I thought it was also a scam because I'm a mama. So my antennas are always up. And so I was like, I just ignored it. And she continued to pursue me until finally I did a conference call with her and my husband. She didn't know my husband was part of it.
Yeah, because you were like, I need backup just in case.
I said, nobody's
this is a scam.
this. I got to put this on speakerphone, and I need you to hear what I think I'm hearing just to verify that this is all true.
Mhm.
And we had an amazing conversation. We hit it off immediately. We were just like besties on the phone, and she was like, "I love everything that you do. I think you'd be a great fit for this." And I'm like, "This lady doesn't even know me."
Yeah.
And she's like pumping me up, like, "Girl, you got it. Like, we are doing something together." And so that kind of caught me off guard too.
I'm sure.
Because I think you're just used to, I know I'm very critical of myself. And so I'm hesitant a lot of times to post things online because I just don't think it's good enough.
Mm.
And here's this woman saying, you are more than good enough.
Wow.
And what you are putting out there is what we want to televise.
Yeah. So tell me this. I want to pause there for a moment. Talk, if you're willing, about the second guessing yourself for putting yourself out there. Because I absolutely believe that social media can be a double-edged sword. It is helpful and beneficial because it allows an outlet. You do inspire so many more people. But I think a lot of times people can also look at the content that you or others post and think, oh, it's so easy for you, or you always have it together and you're fearless. But what I just heard is that's not necessarily the case.
No. I mean, I think my personality has always been to criticize myself.
Okay.
And that's something that I'm growing out of. Because it didn't help anybody. It didn't help myself. It didn't serve a purpose. And so sharing things, putting them out on a worldwide platform, you open yourself up for judgment, for criticism. And so there's plenty of other people in this world that's going to do that for you. Like, we're not the ones that should be doing it to ourselves. I really had to just look within and say, I'm putting my best and my passion out there the way that I choose to. This is mine. This is my content. This is my page. If you like it, amazing. If you don't, then you don't have to. You don't have to watch me.
And you have to get to that place in order to continue. The other thing that I would say is a lot of people that I have come across, I'll only speak for those that I have worked with, struggle with that inner critic. And a lot of times that may not be your case, but I just want to speak to it. That is really just rooted in fear or fear of failure, perfectionism, and thinking, well, if I beat myself up first, then I will get ahead of anybody else. But you said it. It actually doesn't work. It does the opposite. It tears us down and nicks away at our confidence. And it takes the joy out of you just being able to be yourself.
Yeah. And I think, I've always kind of found myself, I've always been very involved and kind of in the popular groups, and growing up, I did all the things in school, and I was surrounded by friends and family who loved me and supported me authentically for who I was. But there was always something in here that just said, it's not enough.
Yeah.
And so my outward production, my do, God, now we're really doing therapy. My do, I believe now, overcompensated.
Yeah.
For the insecurities that I had inside.
Yeah.
So if I did more, if I was more generous, more thoughtful, overexerted myself for other people, it would in turn make me feel that worth.
Yeah.
And God, it took me 40 years to realize that that's the wrong way to do it.
Right. But you realized it.
Yeah.
That's what's most important. You're working on it. And I want to say it's also why it's so important for us to be compassionate towards other people, because I have no doubt that people may look at your life and think, oh, it's wonderful. She's a husband. She has children. They're so cute, and all these different aspects. But we never really know. You do. I mean, yes, those things are true. And it doesn't mean that people aren't still dealing with silent battles. So thank you for being willing to share yours, because I believe that there are other people who are going to listen to this and go, oh my gosh, that's me. And then that's why we get caught up in that productivity trap of, if
Yes.
I don't keep doing more, if I'm not perfect, if everyone doesn't feel like I'm enough, then I'm not enough. What was that like, then going and being in the show or at the show with all of these other chefs and still working through that, whoa, am I even enough to be here?
It was a roller coaster
Mhm.
because I had, excuse me, I've been in my comfort zone
Mm.
doing what I knew. I've been teaching cooking classes to an online fitness group, our E2 family,
Yeah.
and they know me. I know them. That was my comfort zone, and I had been doing this for years. And so when this outside person came in and said, "You've got something that everybody else needs to see, you need to share more." And I thought, oh, that validated something inside me that goes, okay,
Mhm.
you're right. I no more self-doubt. They
Mhm.
have chosen me 24 out of thousands of people that applied to the show. I didn't even apply. They sought me out.
Yeah.
And I went through this rigorous interview process
Yeah.
to basically qualify
Mhm.
to be given a plane ticket to fly to Ireland and do the show.
And I want to
So at
stay
that
right there
point,
for a
I was
moment.
here.
Yeah. What a win. What a win to even go, you chose to step outside of your comfort zone. You went through the rigorous process and didn't let the process make you go, forget this, because there can be moments where we step out of
Oh,
our
there were
comfort zone and
moments.
go, this is too hard. I don't know if I
Yes.
want to do this
There were
anymore.
moments, and I was like,
Yeah.
I can't do this. I mean, like, this is just too intense. And then my husband's like, yes, you can. And people like you that are in my life that says, yes, you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
You are doing it. Just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like here at the top of the roller coaster emotions. And then I get there, and then I'm out of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a completely different country.
Yeah.
I've left my family behind, and I run this
Left your
circuit.
babies. Let's just talk about how hard that is.
Oh, I've never been without them for longer than probably 2 days. You know, like I might do a weekend trip here and there. And so that panic set in of what are they going to do at bedtime when they're used to mommy putting them to bed.
Yeah.
Like I'm the one that makes their special snacks. Like I over analyzed every single hour of the day of what it was going to be like for them without me there.
Yeah. So how was it? We'll come back to you being gone, but I think that's something that I want to hit on because we do, again, caught in that I love what I'm doing as a individual, as a mom, but if I'm not there to do it, the world will fall apart.
Yeah.
How did your family do without you there?
It's like, and you said this word earlier, and you know, fear is fear of the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
is fear of failure, is fear of success. All three of those parts of, I mean, it's happened in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in order for me to go and do this, I was like, that fear of, will they be okay without me?
Mm-hmm.
And trusting everyone here that helped take care of them. My husband, my parents, the nanny, like it took a village for me to go and do this one thing
Mm-hmm.
and lots of prep
Mm-hmm.
before I even made it to Ireland.
Yeah.
So did I answer your question?
It did. Yeah.
Okay.
What I hear is you had to allow them their space to be supported by other people. You had
Yeah.
to acknowledge that you actually do have a village
Need other people?
that
Okay.
you can use, and yeah, that you need other people, because I think there's an aspect of fear that rationalizes staying still, right? We
Yes.
use really good excuses as
Uh-huh.
a way of not stepping out. Oh, it's not
Oh, God.
time. They're too young. They won't be able to do this. And you push past those, but I just want to acknowledge we as our brain can do a really great job of taking us out
Absolutely.
of situations.
And I
So
think
now you're
that's
there.
mom life.
Oh, yeah.
Mom life. I mean,
Yeah.
when you have children, they're your first excuse for anything.
Yeah.
And we kind of joke about it. I'm like, oh, I got kids, so I can get at it. You know, it's
I
like,
know.
oh, somebody's
I
sick, somebody's
know.
not feeling well,
I know.
Jenny, whatever. But I think that I was resting on my children as being my excuse to not push myself,
Mm.
to not do anything out of my comfort zone, not to travel too far, not to do anything too much, just to
Yeah.
stay in this nice little tight circle.
And then everybody would say, oh, she's such a good mom because she's just focused there, which is
Yeah.
fine. Let me say for
Yes.
anybody that is choosing to do that, but you
Yeah.
also have to know it doesn't have to be either or. You can still focus
Correct.
in on nurturing your family and kind
Mm-hmm.
of walking in your purpose at the same time. And I would
Yeah.
absolutely recommend it because otherwise I have seen in particular individuals, wives, moms, even sometimes fathers who over identify with that role. And then as your
Yes.
kids grow, you
Then
feel
what?
lost, you have no identity, and you feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's too late.
Yeah. And I've seen that with my friends and my immediate family. And I thought I do have a passion
Hmm.
for work. I like to work.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy it. And my passion just also so happens to include my children.
Yeah.
And something that I do every single day, and that is cooking for them and feeding them.
Hmm.
And so it does kind of like all come together.
Hmm.
And so I was really good at keeping that tight little circle
Yeah.
and not expanding
Hmm.
outside
Yeah.
of that zone.
So once you expanded, now you're there. Tough
Yeah.
question because I imagine you learned a million things. What was one of the biggest things that you feel like you learned about yourself after you just let that comfort zone open up wide?
It started probably after the jet lag. After I got over the jet lag, there's a 5 hour time difference. And it was probably after like my first like normal day there. And I wanted to go get some breakfast. Oh, well, we were on like high security. Like we didn't leave our rooms. If I wanted to work out, I had to schedule a workout.
Wow.
And I had to wait for a wellness coordinator to come and pick me up from my room, escort me downstairs to do my exercise, escort me back. They gave us a window of opportunity of when, because look, they're managing,
All these
25,
people.
30 adults. I had a window of opportunity to where I could order my food to be delivered to my room.
Wow.
I didn't get any information about what to expect.
Hmm.
It was maybe an hour or two before I would go to bed at night. I would get the text that says, be downstairs at this time. The bus leaves at this time. Wear this, bring this, see you in the morning. And so everything was out of my control. Every single
Not your
thing.
favorite. Not your
No,
favorite.
I am a type A control freak. I run this circus. I run the circus here. I run my own business. I run the circus that surrounds this place. And so that literally just picked me up out and put me in there. And God was like, chill out.
Mm.
You're going to be fine.
Hmm.
And so the first few days, I was like, out of body experience, like, I can't, this is not cool. I need more. And I kept asking questions. And oh, my lovely wellness coordinator, he was like, he goes, you are the most prepared for nothing. And I thought, oh God, you're right.
Oh, that's powerful. You are the most prepared for nothing. Mm.
You don't know what's going to happen. He basically
Yeah.
said, I haven't told you anything. I haven't told you what's going to happen or take place, and you are prepared. And I was like, well, yes. And I got a snack bag. So it's like
Yeah.
that, and I think that, mom life, you're always prepared for what if
Yeah.
scenarios. And so that took that completely out of my hands.
Because you
So,
can take that too far.
absolutely.
It can be helpful, but
Mhm.
also then just keep you in a constant, what we call ruminating pattern when you're trying to foresee every single thing that is going to happen. And it creates what we call anticipatory anxiety. So you have yourself worked up over things that haven't
Nailed
even
it.
happened yet or
Yes.
might not ever happen.
Yes. I like to speculate. I like to envision what you call it, manifest, envision, whatever, it's like worst case scenarios and
Yeah.
best case senios.
Yeah.
Like we have conversations about the kids all the time. I'm like, yeah, but what if ...
Yeah.
And my husband's always like, I've never thought about that. I'm like, of course you've never thought about that.
But I'll say this, there's also something really valuable in going, I've thought through enough and I can trust myself that when something happens or if something happens,
Gosh, yep.
I will handle it. Right? That's the balance from like moving away from that. I have to try to figure it all out. I have done enough and I can trust myself that I'll find my spots, my resources, my tools, my community if I need them, but I don't need to think so far ahead that I'm panicked, because what happens then is you also then create, a story around this is exactly what it has to look like. And then if it doesn't look the way we want, right?
Yeah.
Then even more panic ensues.
Yeah, it's worse.
Yeah.
It's actually worse. And so I think that, whether I can pinpoint it as a lesson or not, just recognizing that I don't have to figure everything out.
Yeah.
And that I need to leave room.
Yeah.
And I need to trust other people. I mean, I know I've got trust issues. I know that, and it's because of a lot of my past.
Yeah.
And so I'm really focusing now on not making the people in my present life pay for my past decisions.
Beautiful. That's powerful.
Because it's not their fault. It's like I chose some person that treated me poorly or whatever 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't mean that I have to have this wall up and my defenses on all the time. And so I think letting go of those beliefs are really helping me to open up more.
Yeah.
And
let me
be able to experience these kinds of things and have conversations like this.
Let me also say this, and you don't have to keep punishing yourself for your past choices. So sometimes we put standards on other people because of past experiences and things that have happened. Yeah. And sometimes we also do the same thing. So I just want to encourage you, this is impromptu, right? That you can also, if you haven't, completely forgive yourself and not believe that you now have to stay here on level 10 just to ensure that this never happens again, because life actually doesn't work that way. We can still come across really tough moments, but we have to trust, hey, but I'm not the same person that I was then. I have more information. I'll see it sooner. I'll respond differently. So that's powerful. And I do appreciate your honesty. So you go through the show, you come back, and I want to make sure that we get into what was it like to watch yourself? Because in the moment, I imagine there's a million things going on, but you come back home.
Oh, yeah.
And then you watch it all go down in front of you.
So I think this definitely resonates with what we just finished talking about, because the anticipation of what they were going to televise on national TV ate me up inside for days, so like immediately after the show, you're like, coulda, woulda, shoulda, man, I should have done this. Why didn't I do this? Why, and I was like, okay, just leave that behind. It's done. It's done. And then it was like, oh my God, but what are they going to show? What did I say? Because in the moment, I didn't even remember there were cameras there. Like we were competing, we were cooking. They were so far away, I couldn't even see them.
Yeah.
And so you don't remember. And like I've even said, like I think it may have blacked out because I'm trying to like, how did that happen? And so anticipating what was going to be aired and how they were going to portray me.
Yeah.
Because it's TV.
Yeah. Like this is, again, whole world perception.
Completely different world that I've not really been a part of. And so I signed a waiver away saying you can use whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what did I say? What did I do? And I was even really hesitant to invite people to watch the show with me.
Yeah.
And I went back and forth, and you can attest to that. Like, I was like, I'm going to do something. No, I'm not. I'm going to do something. No, I'm not. And it was that anxiety of what if what they show like makes me upset, or I'm disappointed, or it's embarrassing, or,
But I want to go back to what you said earlier. You talked about your support system and your community, and you have people in your life who love you, who adore you, who
Yeah.
support you no matter what, right?
Right.
Like how you did on the show was a beautiful opportunity, but it doesn't define you. Like that was
Absolutely.
me personally, my pushing going, no, you celebrate this moment because you crossed so many hurdles by getting there. And it's so important for us not to allow 20 minutes of our lives or one
Right.
moment to tell the whole story of who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, we did interviews, we did all this background information. I gave them pictures and videos and stuff like that. And none of that made the show. And so part of me was like, well, they don't know who I am. They just got like a glimpse of me, a little snapshot preview, if you will. But once once we all watched it, and I thought, okay, I felt a sense of relief, honestly,
Yeah.
because I'm like, okay, it's out there. I know this is what it's at, but that's that control freak inside of me going like, okay, now I know what's been televised. Very good. Okay, let's just write that down.
Yeah.
And it's hard to just be like, I don't know what's going to show up and what people's impression is going to be. But I feel good about what they did share, and I was like, okay, all right, very good.
Is there anything that people didn't get a chance to see that you want them to know about your experience? I know that there's a lot that they didn't, but anything that you're like, out of all the takeaways to people who know me or just getting to know me, here's something you didn't see that I want you to know about who I am.
Yeah. What you didn't see, and this is going to be when I cry.
Crying is allowed.
Because it was such a powerful moment just for me. It wasn't for the TV. It wasn't for the cameras. It wasn't for my children. It wasn't for my husband. It was for no one else but me. And it was sitting alone in that hotel room for days. And there's a 5-hour time difference, so I wasn't able to, we FaceTime with the kids and stuff, but when I left the set, and this is why I know, like, there is another reason why this happened. It's a funny story, but anyway, I'll get there in a minute.
Take your time.
So, what you didn't see is the hours of interviews after I cried, the hours of me being alone in a quiet hotel room. Yes, I had my phone, but I was alone with myself. And damn, my thoughts are loud. And I did some video recordings of how I felt in the moment so that I didn't forget it. And it was the best and the worst moments ever. But when I left the set, the day I got eliminated, I was disappointed. I was kind of like here. And I got in the car, and one of the girls that was helping everybody on set, she was like, what kind of music do you want to listen to? And I was like, what? Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And she turns it on, and Kelly Clarkson in Ireland was screaming, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And we just both bust out laughing, and I'm like crying, and we're laughing.
What a fitting song.
And singing, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I was like, yes. And she was like, see, girl, you are going to be so much stronger after this. You learned so much. And then we came around, in case you're not familiar with the weather in Ireland, it is like 50 degrees and rainy and windy all the time.
Okay.
And it had been sideways rain and wind all morning. And it had stopped raining. and the sun came out. Not only did the sun come out, we come around this corner, and there is the most giant double rainbow that I've ever seen in my life. Like, literally took up the entire sky. You could see every single color. And we were just like, oh my gosh. She was like,
I have the chills, like, because that's
and I'm
so
like,
rare.
I've never either.
Yeah.
And so, me and my driver are just having this really special experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I told her, I said, that is God's promise to me that I'm here for a reason. And although I did not win, that I will soon be finding out my purpose even further.
Yeah.
And as we drove back on that hour-long drive, I was talking to her about boundaries and respect. She's a female in a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
And she was, they were asking her to do more. And I was like, you can say no.
Yeah.
And so we're like counseling each other. And I was like, that was a really beautiful moment. And, that's the stuff that sticks with you for the rest of your life more than like your, 5 minutes on the TV screen.
Because we do learn more about who we are in the valley than we do on mountaintop, right?
Yeah.
Using that analogy. And it is when we're sitting with ourselves in those difficult moments. And I'm going to interject here for those who are listening. It is important for us to have moments where we sit with our thoughts, even though they may be loud, even though they may have a lot of conflict within them and not be what we want. To think about ourselves, like, it's important to kind of work through that truth and to come out on the other side. And I am all about symbolism. I love that you literally went from the rain and the clouds to the sun and the rainbow, because it's also a reminder that those low moments don't last forever. Every single challenge and storm we face eventually ends, and there is beauty on the other side of that. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. So let's say someone who's listening right now is maybe on the cusp of a turning point, a out of their comfort zone opportunity. They're unsure if they should do it, and they wonder, is it too late for them to be stepping out in these moments? What would you say to them?
Do it. It's never too late. You are enough. And if it's something that God has put in your heart, know that that is your assignment. Like, that is something that now I know when I get offers or opportunities, I'm like, okay, this person has come to me for a reason. And I kind of remind myself, so comparing myself to the other contestants, they were a lot younger than me. Majority of them were in their 20s or early 30s. And I'm like, this 41-year-old mama, but you know what? I got wisdom and I'm scrappy.
Yeah.
So those are the things that you got something. There is no expiration date on your dreams. And it just fell out of my mouth one day. And I thought, this is what I'm sticking to for the rest of my life. Like, put yourself out there and do it. If it's in your heart, there is a reason. Don't overthink it. Just take that first step to get it started. Reach out to a mentor or someone that you trust to help guide you if you don't trust yourself enough yet, because you will get to the point where you can trust yourself and go, oh yeah, I can figure this out.
Yeah. I love it. No expiration date on your dreams. I believe that is a beautiful way to encapsulate everything. If you are listening to this, I want you to replay it, share it with someone who may resonate, because there's some really powerful nuggets all the way through. And I want to end by just kind of giving you a moment of, how do I move this from thought to action? I think is asking yourself questions. Where are you making excuses in your life that are keeping you from doing things that you know is your purpose to do? Where is fear allowing you or keeping you in your comfort zone and not allowing you to step out? And is it time to kind of sit with yourself and work through some of those past experiences and thoughts that stand in the way of you being vulnerable, because risk absolutely takes vulnerability. But then once you get on the other side of it, it is very, very powerful. And just reflect there first before you think about how you move forward. Something that, Jennie didn't share that we won't get into in full detail, we might have to do a part 2, is there's a lot of emotional work and mental fitness work that she did prior to this moment, and not because she knew this moment was coming. It was
No.
just a part of her journey. So I think that's important to know. The work that you do to prepare yourself, you never know when you're like, oh, this is it. This
Yeah.
is part of the training that I didn't even realize I was doing. You want to say something?
Yeah, because that is 1,000% like the precursor to everything that's happened to me in the last 6 to 9 months. I would say I've been actively working on, this healing journey, self-awareness, whatever you want to title it, for years now. And you have been a huge part of that and helping me to just recognize what was within myself, what roadblocks I was creating for myself because of these old past beliefs and mindsets. And I had to, I was physically working out a lot, and people would be like, what are you training for? I'm like, ride my bike all the time. I'm like, I'm not riding it anywhere. It's a stationary bike. But, I'm just trying to keep my body in good physical condition.
Yeah.
But along with that is your mind. And so just being conscious of what I say to myself, being conscious of my thoughts. And as soon as I start to doubt or criticize myself, stop, throw that out, and keep it moving. And so I said, you always have to stay ready.
Yes.
And especially like right now, more than anything, like because I have done more things and been out and, more people are starting to find out who I am, I got to be ready. So there is no time to slow down. Like I need to continue to do all the things that I was doing before, working and acknowledging whatever my belief systems were that are broken or just need a renewal of contract. Like I'm 40. Like I was still believing some of the same things that I did when I was in my 20s. Like I am not the same person.
Right.
So, we need to update on our contract with ourselves, of what we will tolerate, what we can do, our terms of agreement with ourselves.
Yeah. And I love that too, with giving yourself permission to go, I no longer ascribe to this belief system.
Yes.
And even recognizing, again, maybe a part 2, sometimes those things were embedded to us by our family in loving ways, and they were helpful for our families in one season. But if we continue to carry them on from moment to moment, they hold back our growth, and we want to be cycle breakers. And one of the things that I love too was in the little tidbits that you've shared, I loved watching your children see you through their eyes, watching them be a part of everything, both physically and mentally, because that's something that people don't realize. It takes a lot of physical stamina to have the mental acuity to do these things, to put yourself out front, to create content. Those two things are not separate. They absolutely go hand in hand. So thank you for bringing that piece into the equation. So for people who are meeting you for the first time or want to know more, can you share how they can stay connected with you either through your website or socials? Give us that information, and I'll also put it in the show notes.
Most of my day-to-day interactions are going to be found on Instagram, Chef Jennie Castleman. I also have a website, www.chefjenniecastleman.com. All my other social media handles, I have a Facebook page too, chefjenniecastleman.com. So it's like really easy to figure it out and find me. But yeah, I'm really excited. I have a lot of new opportunities coming in, and I'll be doing a lot more in-person events, which I'm stoked about. And speaking of the kids, they're going to be joining me because I really do have a heart for teaching parents about nutrition and also children. So This coming week's going to be a lot of cool opportunities. I'm going to be in front of some elementary school kids, which make me like really nervous.
Yes, I was gonna say that's your hardest crowd. If you think adults are hard, because little
Oh,
kids
if I
just
can win
play
over
whenever.
the fifth graders, like it's a done deal. Shut it down. So, and then my kids are going to be joining me on stage to do their first in-person demo. So they've helped me with my classes before, and they've done some videos, but they're really excited. And so that's what I just want to show them, that like, you don't have to fit in this box that our society says, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you got to figure that out when you're 8 years old. Like, no, you can figure that out as you actually grow up. Like,
literally.
I'm still growing up myself. So I want them to see that and experience life that shows them you can do it different. And you can still be successful, and you can do what's on your heart and what, you know, God designed you to do, not what the world sees as being typical.
Yeah, you get to define your own level of success, and it doesn't mean that you have to choose yourself or you choose your family. It is very possible for it to all work well together.
It's a balancing act.
It is. It is. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing your story, for putting it out there, giving us a behind the scenes look at it all. And we'll be sure to continue to stay posted and see all of the amazing and incredible things that you're doing.
Aw, thank you for helping me to tell my story. Because sometimes it takes someone like you to put the pieces together and make sense. Because sometimes I feel like a puzzle that's dumped out on the table, there's hundreds of pieces, and you're like, where do I even start?
Yeah, you just
and then you start putting the edges together, and you're like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you get somebody, this is when you build your village. You get a therapist. I never thought I needed a therapist. Get a therapist that's also your best friend, too. That's really helpful.
I suggest.
Yes. I mean, friends that have different qualities to support you. And my parents are so still involved in my life. Like, a lot of aspects of my life. I can pick up my phone and I call them for their feedback. Whether they understand what I'm doing, they know my heart.
And they know you and have known
because they raised me.
Yeah.
And so they'll always help you to go back to your foundation of who you are and remind you that no matter what you do moving forward, like, you always got to keep that centered.
Beautiful. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time.